as you all should have received a letter from our nominating committee that went out to all the club members, where we restated the slate. Initially, there was a slate that was communicated as bylaws, which are also on the website, which we drafted 4 years ago and put into play, and then revised them in the past year. But it calls for an annual election on, here I will tell you where it says meetings. Anyway, it's in here. We're to hold it in January. I'm looking for it. I highlighted it, but I think I highlighted one, here it is. Election of trustees. At the annual meeting held each January, members of the organization shall elect 7 trustees who shall serve a 1-year term. 4 of these elected trustees shall also be officers, all right? You received, each and every one of you that were eligible, full voting members, which bylaws call for dues to be paid of $15 for an individual or $25 for a family, and also an attendance of 2 meetings or more in the past year. Now, I've had some conversations where people said, I've been here more than twice. Well, then what we need you to ask you to do is to, when you check in, check your name so that we can give credit for it, because that's the only thing we had to go follow on, other than, was so-and-so there? I don't remember. I know I was, but I don't remember if anybody else was. So we can ask you to do that part so that we can, eliminate any of those question marks going forward in the years to come. But each one of you that has a full voting right, dues and attended 2 or more meetings in the past year, will get one of these. And you're registered. We had everybody that was registered or eligible to vote was listed in a name, and then you would notice your ballot is numbered, just like the Board of Elections. So we're going to ask you to, I'm going to take you through the process here in 2 minutes, address some of the things as to clarify any fuzziness. And we also have a contested race for the 3 at-large trustee positions, and we're going to allow those individuals 2 minutes to speak, and we'll time them because I've got the official timer. And then once you hear them, we'll address any questions, and or the bylaws also call for nominations from the floor, if so inclined. We'll entertain that as well. And if there is any from the floor, then that individual, that candidate, would get allowed 2 minutes as well. Okay. 7, 4 officers: president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. Okay? Then we have 3 trustees at large running, and then there are 2 appointed positions on the board. I happen to fill one of those as the immediate past president. The other is the Solon ward leader, who currently is Marilyn Mattia. She's not here tonight. So unfortunately, I think she either was ill, I can't keep it if she was ill, or she had another commitment. I heard conflicting stories, so she's not here, unfortunately. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. So with that, first off, before we go any further, this was posted on the window, on the door. So if you have any questions, this is what was sent as well, and it replicates what you have on your ballot. All right. And for those of you that are new, where's Mark? Mark is a prospective member. I handed him 2 membership applications, so we would look forward to seeing you next month with one of these filled out with your name and a friend. Thank you. Because he took 2, one for himself and his friend, all right, his buddy. Any questions so far on the process?
On the ballot, Dennis, you've got Marilyn is currently on the SER board, but if she remain on the board in her position, whether she gets voted for or not?
Yes. It
so
currently is in my opinion, she's an appointed position, right, as the current ward leader of Solon. So that's an automatic appointment, as am I.
We could vote for the 3 that are on here other than her, and that would be the 3, and she would still be automatically on.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. So with that, Any other questions before we bring up the yes?
We need to clarify though, that Doug is taking over the.
That's not correct. What you just said is incorrect.
How so?
I am the new ward leader for Solon. That has been
When did that take effect?
processed by end of December.
It did?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't aware of that.
I know. I'm sorry. You should have known that before. So Marilyn is not automatically on the board. That's why she's running for.
So
board
you're the
seat.
award leader effective?
January 1st.
Okay, all right, okay. First I've heard of that officially, so, all right. Any other questions?
Yeah, me too. We were going to clarify it anyway, but.
Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, what I'm gonna do is go down, we're gonna allow 2 minutes for the 3 candidates, and if there's somebody that is a regular member, is gonna speak on behalf of Marilyn. I don't see her here yet, but.
That'll be me.
Will it? Okay.
Yeah, she will not be here this evening.
Okay. John Scott, oh, and if you showed up, I saw you pop in late. Did you meet with Doug and or Mike?
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure whoever showed up that they had the opportunity. All right. John, if you would, 2 minutes.
Well, my name is John Scott. I've been a 35-year resident of Solon. Spent 15 years on city council, and I knew if anybody would have asked a question about eligibility, it would have been Mr. Telep, our former finance director, because he used to ask a lot of questions. I've been a trustee for 1 year, lifelong Republican. My heart is here in Solon. I have a lot of history with Solon politics and understand what's going on with Solon politics. I feel as a trustee we should continue a lot of the agenda we've had this year, and that is obviously to get new members, but also I think our speakers forum has really starting to take shape. There are a lot of issues going on, especially in an election year, and we really need to know about them and get other people to understand what's going on. I intend to, as I am also a precinct committeeman, and I intend to be spending a lot of time in Ward 3, especially in my precinct, to help Dave Joyce and also Jack Schron, who really both should be elected, and we need to do everything we can. So if you look at your ballot, there's one name at the top where it says at-large trustees. You just have to fill the one on top, my name, and that's it. And as I always used to say on council, whenever there was an election, being from Chicago, born and raised in Chicago, vote early and vote often.
Thank you, John. All right. Next will be Mike Oklewski. Oklewski. We're gonna tag him as Mike O. Mike O.
So my name is Mike Oklewski. I'm actually only been in Solon for the past 2 years, so I'm a newcomer, relatively newcomer. But for the past 13 years, I've been working in the medical device industry. Currently, I'm working at Philips Medical as a program manager, leading a group of engineers through development of CT scanners. And you're wondering, why am I doing here? So, just really what I've been thinking about politics and really following politics, but not really getting involved. And this past year's budget crisis really got me thinking, like, what's going on with the federal government? What's going on with the deficit? Why are we doing this? And then I started really looking into it and realizing that in 20 years' time, if we don't do anything, all of our entitlements and the interest on the debt are going to take care of the revenues that the federal government's getting in. So that only leads to a deficit going higher, not deficit, but a national debt going higher. And I just couldn't justify that, thinking just sitting on my, sitting at home and just saying, those guys don't know what they're doing. I really want to get involved and help. And I think the way we do that is by growing the membership of this club, trying to get the message out and get a lot more people into the fold. and trying to get a lot of people to understand that this is important. It's like, if I look at my household budget, I wouldn't tell my kids, no, it's okay, just put it on a credit card and don't worry about how much you spend. It's really, we have to make sure that not only we as people who do that on a daily basis, but our federal government does the same. So I ask for your vote to be on the board, because I think I can contribute in terms of growing the membership. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. Next, we have Howard, if you would, please.
Good evening. Some of you are longtime friends, acquaintances. I'm a nearly 30-year resident of Solon, a longtime person of being interested in politics, and I'm retired now. I was an orthodontist. Doug knows that.
I do too.
My feeling is that we all have one thing in common, and that is that we have a philosophy that we feel has been proven over and over again, and yet we see the country drifting in the opposite direction. And there's two things we can do. We can sit by the sidelines and watch it happen, or we can become involved instead of, crabbing about it around the dinner table, and that's about it. We can get involved in the organizations that we see trying to move the country back in the direction that it used to be that worked. We look at the federal government and we see trying things that have already been tried all over the world and failed. And then we're going in the same path that they already proved didn't work. So my desire to be on the board is simply to not be a sideliner, but to be involved and to do what I can do to convince people that what used to work can work again. And that's, I think, what the SER stands for. Thanks.
Thank Andrew, if you would, I just wanted to make sure I had to reset this.
I won't take 2 minutes. I'm speaking on behalf of Marilyn Mattia, and I need to preface this with 2 things. One, I'm doing this because she asked me to, and out of respect to her, of course I would. It's not an endorsement, okay? She is unable to be here tonight because she's ill. I have a great deal of respect for Marilyn, and that's the other thing I wanted to say as a preface. Marilyn has basically been involved in politics in this area since I was born, 1964. I've got a very lengthy, I've got a very lengthy resume here that she wanted me to read, and there's absolutely no time to do it. But I can tell you from 1964 till now, she's been intimately involved with the political machine in this area. She knows the ins and outs of it. She's been involved in this group since its foundation, and actually she was involved in a group that sort of predated this group. So the group definitely has her imprint, and she would very much like to stay as a member of this board and intimately involved with the workings of the board. So she represents really old guard and lots of experience, and it's clearly something that everybody should take into account as they vote. There's also new guard, and I'll tell you, Mike, I use your CT scanners every day. I'm a radiologist at UH, and so every day I'm looking at people through your scanners, so thank you. And that's it.
Thank you. So what I will ask you to do is to take your ballot, all right?
Can I say something really quick? I need to like talk about
You
my
need-
plans.
you need what?
6 months after that.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
This is an important announcement.
Sorry. Since we're in the election portion of the evening, I do want to be open, honest, and fair. Make sure everything, full disclosure and all that. For that, I'm sure it's gotten around. I know a bunch of you know, but I do want to make sure it's official. My wife has accepted a position at University of Missouri St. Louis, and so this summer we will be moving. That having been said, when I presented my plans to the board in December, when we were talking about the slate and all that kind of stuff, I said, I'll do whatever you all would like for me to do. I can hang out and be past president for the next 6 months. I can, move to a different position, whatever. everybody asked me to stay at president. The bylaws will basically say when that day does occur, I submit my paperwork. Doug as VP, you know, if nobody else runs, you know, as we open the floor nominations, then he would basically take over as president. Then at that point, we would have another round of elections for the vice president position. But I just want to make sure before we got any further, all of a sudden 6 months from now, people aren't going, "But you never said." So that having been said, that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, well, since you brought that up, Bob, in the bylaws, what they do call for is in the absence of the president, the vice president will assume being the president. And then the club will then, at that point, will need to call for a special election for vice president, all right? And/or at any time to fill a vacancy as needed in that regard, okay? Any questions on that part? So when is that going to be, Bob? Do you think?
We're hoping the end of June.
All right, so I would suspect what'll happen is the Board of Trustees will have a conversation in May, June at the latest, and then what we'll do is we'll formulate a presentation to the membership in June, and then what we'll do is we'll conduct an election in July, okay? In an official capacity to fill the vice president's role, spot and/or any other vacancies. Any other questions on that? Yes. Why would I be surprised?
John, sorry about
My
that.
namesake, Dennis. Yes, Dennis.
We've got, Doug is running for.
Vice president.
Okay, he's also.
Now, he's also the ward leader.
Which means that if we elect everybody that's on here, we may be short a.
No, you cannot. There's a contested race on the 4 at-large. The 3 at-large, there's only 3 slots for the 3 at-large trustees.
Okay, but we have the appointed representative and the vice president duplicated.
One and the same.
Oh, and you just ignore the fact that you're now missing one of the slots.
On the appointed, one's appointed. This
Right.
immediate past president and the Solon ward leader. Those are appointed.
Right.
So the membership has nothing to do with election on those appointments. So the election that the membership has to deal with and
So we elected 4 officers.
4 officers.
One of whom is also one of the appointed members.
Okay, so,
Normally, we would have 7, now we're only gonna have 6 because he is filling 2 slots.
okay.
Normally there'd be.
By the next
9.
meeting, figure that out, okay?
Well, let me ask you, now, special meetings can be called, or a quorum of the membership of 25 signatures or more can be submitted, the bylaws call for it or recognize it, to be submitted to the president to address that. So if there's a support from the membership to address that in that regard, then I would say that we need to put that petition together and formally present that to the Board of Trustees
All right,
to address that part.
all right,
Okay?
we'll have to deal with that as we.
I mean, the
go.
bylaws are very
Okay.
comprehensive in addressing those
And
issues.
Can I